Afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to our KETIV AVA Autodesk Virtual Academy AEC Lunch and Learn. My name is Eric Curtola, Territory Account Manager here at KETIV. With me, I've got a couple of friends and colleagues. Jose Paredes. Did I say that right, Jose?
Yes, you did.
There you go. Application Engineer. And then Nigel.
You can give up.
With KETIV, another Application Engineer. Today we're going to be with you guys for about 30 to 40 minutes roughly. We'll make sure we leave some time at the end to answer any questions you guys might have. As always, we try and make these as collaborative as possible. So if you guys do have any questions during the presentation, go ahead and feel free to type them into the chat box, and one of us three will do our best to address them as they come up. Today's topic, as far as installation and activation of new products, realistically, not the most exciting topic to me, but something that's definitely relevant out there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times wasted just trying to get new products, new stuff, and if we can simplify that for you, I think it's going to be beneficial.
Yeah, as part of the Lifeline team, a good, I want to say 50% of our calls have something to do with installation and licensing. It's a huge part, especially with the recent releases of the 2017 versions of all the software. We do get a lot of calls about this stuff, and we just want to make that process as pain-free as possible. And we want to make sure that you're planning accordingly, and that everything goes as smooth as possible. Right.
If we can minimize the installation to a couple minutes or an hour or so as opposed to half a day,
right,
I think that helps everyone. We're all in a better mood, right?
For sure, yeah.
Jose, what are we going to be covering today? I guess just A to Z, installation and activation?
Yeah, so today we're going to go over how to download your products as well as how to install them and then go ahead and activate them so you can use them. We'll focus more on AutoCAD and what you have to go through if you're a single user or a multi-user as a customer.
Okay, and I'm sure it's probably relevant to more than just AutoCAD, right? If I have Revit or Civil 3D.
Yeah.
And then one thing I want to make sure we hit on before we leave here today, guys, is I know there's a lot of questions, or I field a lot of questions or calls in regards to how subscription, the rental version of the software, is activated possibly differently than the perpetual licenses.
Yeah.
So if we can make sure we clarify that before we leave today, I think that should be beneficial.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover a bit of that as well, seeing as the whole Autodesk purchasing model is changing a little bit, and that's also something that we can go over a little bit towards the end of this presentation. But yeah, pretty much Jose will be covering the process in which right after you purchase from us or whoever, that whole process after you buy to the point in which you start using, or if you're on a current maintenance, you do get access to the newest versions of the software as they release.
And 2017 releases have been out for 2 months at this point, and we know there's customers out there that are hesitant or don't want to jump into the new products without having all of the knowledge that they feel that they need, and that's perfectly fine on our end. But that's also the reason we're doing presentations like this. So the first thing we're going to cover is why move into 2017 products. Now, there are 3 different areas where we feel Autodesk hits with each new release, and the first area we're going to talk about is new functionality. Now, there's new functionality in every release of Autodesk products, and what I want to talk about concerns AutoCAD, and in this case, it's the PDF import. In previous releases, you would be able to import a PDF, but it would be a roundabout way. You'd have to insert it in as a raster image and then underlay it to wherever you need it to be. But with the PDF import functionality that they added with the 2017 release, there's actually a functionality that is solely based for that.
And to interject on that point, that is one of the biggest things that people were asking for in AutoCAD. We did go over some of these functionalities in our What's New in AutoCAD 2017 webinar that we did a couple weeks ago. If you do want to see that, that's on our YouTube channel. And we're going to be doing one in a couple of weeks showing the full workflow in regards to taking a PDF that someone generated in AutoCAD and taking it into your version of AutoCAD, converting that to lines and everything.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we like about Autodesk is they always take the customer's voice into consideration. They take their feedback, they take their ideas, and they give them to the public and their customers. And that's also where refinement and improvement comes in. And that's making the experience while using their software that much better. And in this case, we can talk about center marks. Now, center marks in AutoCAD were not interactive before, where if you moved an object that you drew a center mark for, you would have to later on move the center marks with it. But now, by adding center marks as a function and improving the way center marks work, your center marks will follow the object you used and drew upon without you having to worry about moving them afterwards. In our opinion, this is definitely a time saver, and it's definitely makes it so that your workflows are a lot faster and better to use. And now the last area we want to touch on is performance and usability. And this is a biggie on our end, because with 2016 products, we got a lot of customers that asked us, will I be able to use this on Windows 10? Will I be able to install it and have no issues with it? And the answer was technically no. Autodesk did not officially support 2016 products on Windows 10, with the exception of AutoCAD and
Inventor.
And
that was with service packs.
Yeah, and that was with hotfixes and service packs. And even then, it was not meant to be run on Windows 10. But with the 2017 release, it is officially supported on Windows 10, and you will be able to install any product that you need, whether it be Revit, AutoCAD, or any vertical of AutoCAD that you need to work with. So now that we gave you the why we think it's worth it to upgrade to 2017, we can go into what it takes to prepare and to actually do it. And in this case, we can take a look at the system requirements. And this one is important because with new functionalities and new features with each release, the system requirements and specs will increase as well. So where you had AutoCAD or Revit installed for 2016 on a computer, we just like to give a word of caution that before you upgrade to 2017, make sure that the specs for the new release are still in compliance with the ones that are on your computer.
For sure. And then that brings in also the topic of graphics cards. So graphics cards is a big question that we get in support. There is a certified hardware list from Autodesk in regards to which graphics cards and which drivers are suitable and approved by Autodesk for specific products. You can definitely ask any of us at Lifeline for that list, or if you have any questions in regards to, hey, I'm building a new computer, should I buy this? You can definitely ask us, and we can give you, the list of what Autodesk does suggest for whatever products you are using.
Perfect. Yeah. And another topic we can go over with preparation, even dealing with your computer as well, is the antivirus software that we have on there. And we know that antivirus software is on your computer to protect your computer from any unwanted software. But in this case, it harms the software that you want to install in Autodesk in this case. We recommend that when you are downloading or installing Autodesk software, you temporarily turn off your antivirus just until you're done activating, just to avoid any unwanted corruption or missing files during the install. Once you're done and up and running with it, you can actually turn it back on, and you should be able to run it just fine. The last point we want to talk about for preparation is the license file. And this one deals or concerns the multi-user, the multi-user contract owners as well for 2017 products. And this one's important because with the 2017 release, Autodesk released a new version of LM Tools or Network License Manager, which will distribute 2017 licenses. Some of the issues that we run into with the Lifeline team is actually customers calling in saying that their LM Tools shows that they have a 2017 license, but when they try to access it from the user's end, it says there's none available. And luckily, most of the time, it's just a question of going into the server and making sure that 11.13 release of LM Tools is installed. Once we go ahead and make sure that that's installed, it usually fixes the issue of not releasing any licenses. Now, whether you're prepared or not, it's not always the right time to upgrade, and that's something we want to touch on this webinar. And it's the need to plan out how you're going to implement this software, whether it be to finish old projects and start new ones on the new release, or just having a plan to implement in order to maintain the efficiency that you're used to while you do it. And in this instance, we think KETIV would be great to help you with that. Give us a call, tell us you're trying to implement the new release, and we'll work with you and make sure that, we don't just disrupt the flow of your work.
Definitely, yeah. Just, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen, when you're implementing new software, it could be something that takes you 3 or 4 days, depending on, how fast your download speeds are and how fast your installation speeds are. And especially those of you who are using like Building Design Suite Ultimate, that's those installation files are over 35 gigabytes, and that could take, I've seen it take 14, 15 hours to completely install into a machine.
So now that we have the preparation done, now that, let's say, we talk to KETIV and we have a plan to implement, we actually need to obtain our software. And whether you're a new user or that's going back through their maintenance plan to get the new release, you get your software through the same place. And that website's actually this account portal right here. The website to actually access the account portal would be manage.autodesk.com.
And this is available for those of you who are contract managers on their particular contracts, or even software coordinators as well. So, and if you're confused about what that is, you can give us a call. We'll let you know if you're the contract manager for your particular contract.
So once you navigate to that website, it will actually take you to this login screen where you will need to input your email as well as your password. Now, in some cases, you'll have new users or you misplaced your password. For these customers, we recommend that they use the forgot link here, which will email you a link to reset your password to the email that's associated with your Autodesk account. In this case, we'll use Nicole's account in order to get into the software, since she's the one that manages it. Now, it was mentioned earlier that subscriptions do have a different way of activating it. So in order to prepare for that activation, we'll need to go over some steps regarding users. So by clicking on this Users tab, it will give you a list of the users that you have under your account. In this case, it's the whole KETIV family. You will be able to add new users or edit the access that users have through this web page here.
Yeah, and this is for those of you who are on term-based licensing with standalones, not with multi-user network seats. In that case, you don't have to create named users for that. But this is something we can go over. We do have a blog post about this, and I'll go ahead and drop that link, going step by step how to do this in the chat box. So you can feel free to grab that and look there.
Great.
Okay, so once we do have our users updated and their access edited, we can go ahead and access our software. I earlier today gave myself access to AutoCAD, which you can see available here for us to download. The link here will take us to another window, which will show us the version, platform, and language that we want to download our AutoCAD. For our case, we want to go and download 2017, Windows 64-bit, and English. Now, I know a lot of customers will go ahead and just click the Download Now option, but KETIV actually recommends we use a browser download. It does say it's the slowest, but it does reduce the chances of corruption or failure during installation, because it goes ahead and downloads the software onto your computer before it tries to install it. We see a tip here to disable our browser pop-up blockers, and we believe it is a tip that you should follow. in this case, it says verify that there's 2 files downloaded. And if you do have a pop-up blocker enabled and you start the download, there are some times where it will only start downloading 1 file. And in cases other than AutoCAD, like Building Design Suite Premium or Ultimate, there are up to 7 or 8 parts to that download. So you'll go ahead and start the download and then notice afterwards you're missing a part. And that's because the pop-up blocker just blocked that 1 part and it looked like you had all of it. So we recommend you disable it, start the download, and then you can enable it again if you feel the need to. So once you click the Start Download button, you will see something down here. As you can see, it said verify for 2 files, and we do have those 2 files. I'll go ahead and close that out, and we can look at where they're being downloaded. Here you can see the unconfirmed ones, which are the ones that are currently downloading, but I also downloaded them earlier today. Here you see AutoCAD 2017 English, Windows 64, which is what we needed, and then 001 of 002. And that's the 2 files that we have, 1 and 2. Once you actually have them onto your computer, you can go ahead and double-click on them, and it will start an extraction of the files onto your computer. And this is neat because even though there are 2 parts, if you click on the first one, it will go through all the required parts, and it won't actually do it unless you have them all.
Yeah. And so for something like Building Design Suite Ultimate, it's at least 6, if not 7 parts for 2017. So we'll look to make sure they're all there before starting the extraction.
The extraction will ask you where you want them to put the files. The default location is the C drive, which you can navigate to here, and Autodesk. Here you can see the list of software that I have extracted before, but you can see I extracted AutoCAD 2017 as well. If you navigate into that folder, it will have all the required files as well as a setup.exe file. This you can use to install tools and utilities or the actual software itself. The first time running the extraction though, it will start the setup immediately, which you can cancel out of or continue depending on whether you want to, if it's downloaded onto the computer that you want it on, or if you're downloading it to put it on the server location.
Yeah. And then for those of you who are kind of deploying this to, multiple computers and network deployment, perhaps that all have some centralized server access, you could put all of these files onto some central network folder, and then have people run the setup from within their machines, as long as they have a connection to that network drive.
Yeah. So the install is running at this point, and we need to go back to our account portal and actually take a look at something else that we'll need. Here you'll see we clicked the downloads link straight off of the AutoCAD tab, but if you actually expand that, it will give you the option to see the versions that you have available to you, as well as the serial numbers and product keys that you need to activate them. At this moment, you'll probably want to take the serial number and product key and keep it, have it handy in order to activate it. Once the installation is finished, you'll have an icon on your desktop that will open up the software. If you open up the software for the first time before activating it, it'll bring you to this window here, which lets you either activate it as a standalone or subscription, or a desktop subscription, or use a network license to activate it as well.
Yeah, and so this changed from 2016. Previously, you entered your serial number and the type of deployment you wanted, whether that be standalone or network, before the installation of the products. For 2017, that's changed, so you enter your serial number afterwards. This is really beneficial for those people who want to try it as a trial before. You can install it as a trial and then input your serial number, or determine whether it's a network install afterwards, in which case you couldn't do that with any software previous to 2017. Yeah.
Just make sure that if you are using a trial version, you activate it before it hits 0. Right now?
Yeah. Before the 30 days lapses. If you lapse the trial and hit that maximum 30 days, you're going to have to uninstall and reinstall, which is something that everyone doesn't want to do. For sure. So yeah, make sure you get that done before the 30 days.
So let's say you hit the enter a serial number button, and it'll ask you for the serial number and the product. Go ahead and input those from where we got them earlier, and hit next and finish, and you should be up and running. It'll let you use the software. Now, the one difference that we do know about with the desktop subscriptions is it will ask you to log in using the user's Autodesk account.
Correct. So what it'll do is it'll ask you to log into your Autodesk account. You log in with your username and password, and that username is your email, which has to correspond to another seat in the account portal that says so-and-so has so-and-so at, for example, Jose Perez at KETIV.com. That email has to match whatever he's logging in as to give him access to the software.
Like we said earlier, if there's any issues that you run into later on in the future, just give us a call and we'll be able to help you out with that.
Definitely.
And now the other way to activate it is actually through a network license. And for preparation for this one, there's an extra step, which is making sure that the latest version of LM Tools or Network License Manager is installed on your server. Now, single users or somebody that's never used a network license before will be wondering what a Network License Manager is, and it's a utility that we have that comes with our software that you can install on a server or a dedicated computer to distribute the seats that you own of a certain product. In this case, AutoCAD, Revit, that has a total number of seats, and it only hands out those seats at a time. So if you have 2 seats, only 2 people can use it, and so forth. So the thing we have to make sure is that LM Tools is on the 11.13 version.
Yeah, and you can find that by searching, Autodesk Network License Manager, or even installing it from the installation files using the tools and utilities. You can get it from there too. But personally, I just Google Autodesk Network License Manager. It's the first thing on Google. Download it and use it. Make sure that you're using a computer-specified system requirements. Usually that's not an issue. It's pretty lax in terms of the requirements. But sometimes we do run into issues with people running like older server operating systems and not being able to use the license manager.
Yeah. So once we have the license manager installed, it will look a lot like this. And here you will see the services that we have installed. But if we navigate to the system settings, it will tell you your computer or host name, as well as your Ethernet address, which is the host ID that we'll need later on. So once we have that information, we can actually go over to our account portal again and use the generate network license file option that Autodesk gave us. And it will ask us for the type of server we need, which is single, redundant, or distributed. Most of our customers are on a single server, which houses all of their seats. We go ahead and click that, and here's where we input our server name as well as our server ID that we acquired from our LM Tools. Once you have those in there, you can actually hit this plus sign here, which will expand a menu that will show you all the software that is available to use as a server, as a network license. Here you go ahead and pick out the software you need and hit Add Selected. Once you hit Add Selected, it will show you on your account portal the list of software you have as well as the serial number that it's using. Once you're satisfied with the software that you're going to add to this license file, go ahead and hit Get License File. And this will generate a brand new license for you. Here we have the server name Boston and the server ID, and multiple ways of obtaining your license file. In this case, you can either copy the text onto a new text file and save it what you want, or go ahead and save it as a LIC file right off the bat once you have it. You also have the option of emailing it out to the required people. In some cases, companies have an IT manager that will have access to the server, while the contract manager or software coordinator do not. So this is the best time to go ahead and email those out to you. We also have a document which explains exactly how to go into LM Tools and set up the license file as well as everything else you need to get your server up and running. Right, Nigel?
Yeah, so I'll actually go ahead and post that in the chat box with the other things. If you want to save that for future reference, or you can just ask us at KETIV Lifeline and we can help you through the entire process. Definitely.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I guess, again, one thing to reiterate in case somebody missed it, this is only for someone using a multi-user or network license.
Correct. These steps are. If you have a standalone, you don't have to do LM tools. You don't have to have a centralized server location, et cetera, et cetera. And if you don't know what you have or what you purchased, you can definitely ask us, and we can look that up for you within your Autodesk account, too.
We'll just buy more, and we'll be sure.
For sure.
We'll be sure to give you both. But once LM Tools is set up, once you have your license file, distributing those licenses, you can go ahead and run that software that we installed. And in this case, we'll hit Use Network License. The only thing you'll have to do in this case is type in the host name or the server name, and then hit Next. What the software does is it'll connect to that server, it'll look through LM Tools, and it'll say, oh, there is a license, let me grab one. And it'll let you use the software. You only have to do this part once, as it will save the license path to that server for future use. So now that we have our software installed, we have it activated, let's go over what we went over today. We went over the reasons we think you should upgrade. The increased functionality, the PDF, being able to import PDFs, being able to work a lot smoother in AutoCAD without having to worry about moving your sensor marks, and the full incorporation of Windows 10 and it being supported for 2017 products. We went over the preparation you need to go through, whether it be turning off your antivirus or even making sure that your computer can handle it. Just steps that you should go over before installing. And then we went over where to actually get your software, the account portal, and the tools that come with it that Autodesk provides.
Definitely. And if you do have any questions about all of this, the KETIV Lifeline team is always here to help with installation and activation at any time. Feel free to give us a call. We'll have all of our contact information here at the end. That's just something we want to make sure that you're all up and running, and this is the least headache part of the entire thing, and you can go ahead and deal with the actual usage of the software. That's a completely different animal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, the recommended next steps that we have is go out and actually try it. Log into your account portal, download some software, and if you do run into any problems, if you have any questions, go ahead and give KETIV Lifeline a call. We're always here to help. Or if you want, contact your sales rep, and they'll definitely put you through to us and have you taken care of.
For sure. We can go ahead and get into the Q&A session, answer a couple of these questions that have come in as well. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in to the GoToWebinar panel. Even if they're not related to installation and licensing, if it's something about your usability of the product or anything else, we'll definitely try to cover it here as well.
Great, yeah, thanks, Jose and Nigel, appreciate it. Yeah, I've got a couple questions out there, actually. One that's been sitting from Gene for a little while. Let's just start from the top here. I didn't catch what you had to look for to be installed on the server if you have trouble with downloading or installing.
So the only thing that needs to be installed on the server is your LM Tools utility, which is your Autodesk Network License Manager, and that's only if you have multi-user, which, looking at the chat here, Gene, it says you also do have a multi-user subscription. So make sure that if you're moving to 2017, that you have your Network License Manager installed, an updated license file for whatever software that you're using, as well as a direct connection, a network connection from the computers to the server. Sometimes people don't have that connection, either like some firewall blocks it, or they have other things like some antivirus will block some connection to servers and stuff, and that's a lot of the calls that we get for our team.
Gotcha, and then yeah, one more I guess distinction I'll make there, Nigel, is network licensing works like a library key, kind of what you mentioned earlier. Only one person can use a software at one time, whether that's a perpetual license or the rental, the subscription they're calling it.
Yes.
but it can be passed around. It can be used between multiple people,
Yeah.
as opposed to a standalone license or single user desktop rental subscription, whatever, where only one person can actually log in and access that software.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, if you're confused about the difference between network and standalone, you can see network as like that pool of licensing where there's like 3 available, and the first 3 to grab them are the 3 that get them. There are things in an options file where you can create it so you do reserve a seat in that pool for, say, the manager. Say he needs to grab a seat every day. There's things in the options file you can set up. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and give us a call. We can do custom options file setups for people and stuff like that for borrowing.
Okay, fantastic. Another question we had is, where do you get your server name, server ID, or MAC address?
So server name is actually on the dedicated server or computer. Once you install LM Tools, you'll be able to go into the system settings, and it will tell you the host name that it picked up as well as the Ethernet address. In this case, it shows me 2, and that's because we have a wireless one and a hardwired one. Either one will work. You'll be able to use either one to create your license file and access this server.
For sure. And there's other ways to find your computer name and IP address. This is just one of those things. You could also use a couple of things in the command prompts, typing IP config and stuff like that. But this I think, is the easiest way to get it on the server.
Great.
Straightforward one.
And then one other question from Gene is, will this be posted? Obviously, yeah, we post all these for anyone new on the session. When we're done in about 24 hours, maybe a day or 2, we'll post this up on our YouTube channel, so you can actually go through the archive of all our videos.
Definitely.
If you get nothing to do and watch a KETIV marathon of the AVAs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll definitely be posted up there for you to watch, review. And again, feel free to reach out to us directly if you have any questions. We can maybe make it more concise or personalized to you if there's something you need to see.
Definitely, yeah, and especially for installation things, everyone's got different needs. People deploy it a little differently than everybody else. Definitely give us a call if you have any confusion, or even shoot us an email at the Lifeline team. So there's a couple of other questions, I think, and that's looks like we got a question from Daniel about trials and how they affect all of this. So you can install a trial of a software, and you can activate that trial once you get your serial number if you want to have like no lapse in work.
Mm-hmm.
For example, say you put in your PO today, and you're going to wait a week to get your serial number and stuff. I don't know how exactly.
Not a week, but
a couple days.
A day or 2, right?
Yeah.
It feels like a week.
So during that time, you can most certainly install a trial version of the software, and run it as a trial. A trial has full functionality. Everything's exactly the same. And then once you do get that information, if you haven't set up your server yet and stuff like that, once you do get that information, serial number, servers, etc., you can go ahead and activate it. That's just another way where you can activate and use your software without any lapse in work.
Great. And then you mentioned trials, and I usually get this question a lot. What are the rules for trials, Nigel? Can you explain that? If I download a trial 1 year, am I eligible to download a trial of the 2017 version when it comes out, or I can't download multiple trials on the same email? I mean, how does that work?
Right. So you can download trials for like every year. You just can't have the same version of the software on the computer as before. So say, for example, you install a trial of Building Design Suite Ultimate. Mm-hmm. You can use that for 30 days, but you cannot install a Building Design Suite Premium that has all of the same programs in it. So you can't, jump from an AutoCAD trial to an AutoCAD mechanical trial to an AutoCAD electrical trial. That's, I think, kind of like against the rules of what's compliant or not.
Gotcha.
For sure. I think that's it for questions. But if you do come into any more questions or concerns, or even specific suggestions that you have for future topics, feel free to include those in the after session survey that we have. We definitely take all of that information and come up with next week's topic or.
Yeah, that's a good point Nigel brings up. So at the end of these things, I think they send you like a 3 or 5 question little survey.
Definitely.
If you guys have time, take 30 seconds, fill it out. We know this is a new concept to us, and we're always looking to improve. So hopefully we'll see you in another 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from Wednesday when we have our next AVA Lunch and Learn. Until then, thanks again for joining us, and take care.